I am the billboard for my company. It's like if I want to help people build muscle, shred fat, then I just show that I can build muscle, shred fat. So as long as I'm staying lean, as long as I'm sharpening my brain and learning more about nutrition, learning more about training, and just like always improving and like how I can improve my knowledge, I'm going to apply it to myself first. And then I'm going to like obviously read the literature, read the research, and then I apply it to my clients and see what works, see what doesn't. Not like I'm using them as guinea pigs, because I'm the guinea pig on a lot of things. And I'm not trying like crazy stuff, but if you're like trying to get a lot of people in your door at like, you have like some sort of like restaurant or something that's like really hard to maintain the outside of it, and like you want it to look good on the outside so people come inside. If it looks like crap, no one's going to come inside. Same with me. I'm the billboard, I'm the face of the company. I need to make sure that it looks good, that it's inviting, it's welcoming. I'm my own marketing tool, if that kind of makes sense.
Welcome to the Full Fueled Podcast with your host, Matt Tack.
Dr. Alfred Alessi.
And Corey Van Dorn.
He's a new host now.
Yeah, he's in.
New guy.
Well, introduce the man himself.
Yeah, man. Hey, we got an awesome guest today, Corey Van Dorn. He owns Van Dorn Nutrition supplement company. He's also a fitness and health coach. Man, we met, what was it, like 6 months ago at a Crunch Fitness marketing event. Guy gave me a sample of his pre-workout product, and I freaking had one of the best workouts ever. So, and then it just kind of came to be like a chance meeting today, where you were doing some freelance filming work, and we booked some time with the company, and they hired him to come do it. And so we're like, dude, we got to get you on the show, man. Dude, get into some cool
God's
stuff.
timing, man.
God's
it was all
timing,
meant
bro.
to be.
That's right.
And then you're obviously, we shortened that up, but you're an athlete, the forever athlete, what we call, obviously a physique coach, do some coaching. And then, but you were a Division II wrestler and an elite high school athlete as well. So we'll tap into a little bit of everything across the board.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate the introduction, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks,
so
bro.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, like Dr. Alessi was saying, man, met him at Crunch. I was selling some pre-workout, giving out some samples and stuff. Got my guy dialed in on the XL pump, and yeah, randomly. I'm doing this filming gig, so I filmed a little bit of for ads, right?
Yeah, we're filming some Chiro ads. Yeah,
filming for some Chiro ads, and he messages me on Instagram, and he's like, I thought he was like knew that I was coming in to do this, and then I was like, he was like, dude, we're doing a podcast. You want to do a podcast sometime? Like we do them on Thursdays. Today is Thursday, and I was like, bro, you know I'm coming in tomorrow, right? And he was like, dude, no way. And I was like, what is the odds, man?
Did Matt set this up?
Yeah,
I was like, what's
I
going on?
actually did set it up, but I had no idea that you were coming in. It was pretty wild, like, cause you followed me, and I honestly thought you were in my elite level mastermind, like coaching.
Okay.
And so I'm like, did he just join Dan Martell's program? And he's following me because I follow a few people like when I'm on those calls. But we had texted, but I didn't know your last name. So then I was trying to put two and two together. I literally asked him yesterday. I was like, do you know this Corey Van Dorn guy? And he's like, no. And then
I didn't remember your last name.
All this comes together this morning. And I'm like, you're like, actually, I do know him.
All the pieces started fitting in. And I was like, I do know this guy. I've met him 6 months ago. And yeah, I remembered you.
That is awesome,
dude,
man.
Small world. It was meant to be, though. It's definitely meant to be.
It was definitely meant to be.
That's right, man.
We were just talking about before the podcast a little bit about VO2 Max. I just want to tap into that. We'll get a little nerdy on that, and then we'll go into kind of your story too. But VO2 Max, I've been reading this book with Peter Attia, Outlive, and he talks about the thresholds of what it means to outlive. So as far as like programmatically what we're doing, I always go back like, what am I doing today to thank my 80-year-old self, or would my 85-year-old self thank me today for doing that? And one of the things was VO2 Max. Dive into that a little bit, zone 2, zone 3. I know that you've tested that in college, but give us that story of even like one of your professors, how he took the test, where you do, but like get nerdy about that a little bit and chat through the VO2 Max testing.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone that has like a Garmin watch or like probably Apple Watches, Fitbits, whatever it is, it'll tell you like what your VO2 Max is, and people will like try to compete and like they think that it's like reading. I don't know how accurate that is. And then Matt over here was telling me how he does different kettlebell training, getting into the different zones on where he's like trying to increase his VO2 max, and I asked him if he's done a actual VO2 max test, and he has not. So that's what we did. Both of us actually did exercise science in college, not at the same college, but we would do the testing. And is this treadmill? You get on it, you start on it. It's like at maybe a 15 incline. It's like a normal maxed out treadmill incline, and you're walking, and then it goes up like 3% grade or another 3 points or something, and it speeds up a little bit, and you're still walking. And you're walking for the first 2 or 3 levels, and then depending on how long your legs are, and then it's like pretty dang steep, and you're running, and there's I guess there's 7 different stages, and then you're basically like running like up like a Stairmaster at one point. And mind you, you're also hooked up to all these heart monitors, and you also have a breathing tube like in your mouth, super uncomfortable. You're like drooling out of it, breathing as hard as you can, and you keep going faster. Every 3 minutes, it increases its incline, and then it increases its speed. And you have someone that's testing with you, making sure that your heart rate can level out. If your heart rate keeps going up, then you have to redo that same level again. So some people, their heart rate doesn't stabilize within like X amount of beats. I don't remember the exact number. But then if it does stabilize, you level up to the next one, and you go until you literally like fall, and you have someone there catching you, and you're supposed to. Some people are obviously going to quit beforehand. And the machine that's like in your mouth, that's like measuring basically how much oxygen is being turned over by your lungs, like the volume of oxygen is what VO2 max is, to see what it is, test your VO2 max. And I've done the test, I think, twice, and I've gotten to level 5, and then I fail out like halfway through level 5. I don't think I ever made it to level 6. And then other people, they'll fail out sooner, or they'll make it maybe a little bit further. But that doesn't necessarily mean, if you make it further, you don't necessarily have a higher VO2 max. It just means like you might have just been in better shape. A lot of times, genetically, you can't change your max, VO2 max, or however you want to say that. But we did have our professor, not for that specific class, but he was teaching in the exercise science program. He also wrestled at UNK. That's where I wrestled, Nebraska Kearney. He was like a 4-time All-American. I think he was like 125, small guy. He was the only one ever in our university to beat that whole test. So he like went past level 7. So they had to make a modified test for him. And it's because if he didn't like fail out, then he may not have reached his own VO2 max. So that's like some Olympic level stuff. I used to put my teammates on it. They're peak during season, so when they're in their best shape, and they never even pass it. And like college wrestlers leading up to like national championships, we're doing lactic acid training every Tuesday. That's like your peak conditioning, and still they were getting to like maybe level 5, level 6. But never beat it. So for that professor, Dr. Bryce Abbey is his name, him beating it is kind of crazy. And he actually won that Kevin Hart show. He won like $100,000 a couple years ago.
No way.
For like some like Ninja Warrior type stuff or something like
cool.
that. It was like, I don't know, it was Kevin Hart show. I forget what it was called, but
that's tight.
Yeah, that's the true VO2. You got to do that test. And like
watch isn't enough.
You don't want to do like, I wouldn't crave to do that test again. Like you literally it's hard.
You know what's wild about that though is like how. So we look at just the standard population. I know like we're all fit guys, and it's something that like stepping into that level of uncomfortable. We were talking about that the other day. And so anything like across the board, if you look at it from the perspective of just like pure life, right? You step into business, that's uncomfortable, right? Yeah. But what I've found is that people in general, one of their greatest fears is to become out of breath. Like their greatest fears, like as you progress and get older, like where you are getting yourself out of breath and you're like, what do I do? Right.
They're so soft.
And it can come from guys even that were like high level athletes, maybe high school, college, where they just like, hey, my best days are behind me. Right. That's why I love this idea, the forever athlete. You're stepping into that level of uncomfortable. But like I'm seeing one of the greatest fears of everyone. You're in the sauna, right? Everything that you're getting out of the sauna is when it gets a little uncomfortable and you stay in there a little bit longer. That's when you're getting the best everything out of that sauna. In the cold plunge, it's just a little bit longer is when you're actually pulling that out. But when people get out of breath, that's their like biggest fear, right? It's the same thing when they get in the cold plunge. The cold plunge puts your body in the parasympathetic. Your body goes into fight or flight. You have to control your breathing. You're getting out of breath. That's why people buy a cold plunge and then 2 weeks later they don't use it. You know, we see about Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. Well, you're putting in a sympathetic state when you're in that fight or flight, and then it's the parasympathetic after that. It kind of sets you into. But again, it's like controlling that breathing. And I mean, yeah, like all of us as athletes, you've gone through conditioning. And dude, I remember man, shout out to UCF lacrosse. Ask anybody on the team. I was the most conditioned guy on that team. I was running laps around people, but even I hated being out of breath. Like it is uncomfortable, but that's what like levels you up, right? If you don't push yourself, and it's the same way we talk about positive muscle failure, right? When you're training, if you're getting to 12, 15 reps and you have like 5 more in you, you didn't push it hard enough, right? You got to be at that last rep failing or almost failing. Obviously safe if you're training alone, like you don't want to be dropping weights on yourself and stuff, but that threshold is where growth occurs. And that's physical, that's mental, that's biochemical, that's on every level. When you're pushing like boundaries is where growth happens, right?
It's huge.
But yeah, man, Corey, tell us a little bit about your background, bro. Kind of we obviously just talked about this before the show, but share with like our listeners, man. Like you were a football player, wrestler, you know, had some injuries. Tell us, give a little summary, man. If you want to hear your question answered live on the show, submit it to ask@fullfuel.com. Check out the Optimizers program where we build max muscle, improve longevity, and get guys freaking shredded so that they can crush it at life for as long as possible.
Live full fueled. Live beyond limits, baby.
Yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, just like to start off, I've always been like addicted to working out, fitness, everything like that. I think 8 years old, had a pull-up bar in my doorway or whatever. I have like the record in my elementary school for most pull-ups. Eventually I got my parents to build me one outside. It's still there, so I can still get some good
you're a younger guy. Did they do the presidential, you know what I mean? Did they test you?
That was a junior high, yeah. But and then so before junior high, it was just elementary, which was like I don't think there was any like real standards. The presidential test, but I got the presidential like every year.
Yeah,
same here. Yeah. My mom is actually a teacher at my elementary school, and every couple of years she'll like be in the PE room, take a picture of like the old, super old like sticker that has my name and like how many reps I did or whatever next to it. So
that's funny.
That's pretty cool. But then my dad sent me like a weight bench. I think I was like 10. My brother was like 12. So I mean, I started like actually consistently working out as soon as I got a gym membership, and I was allowed to go by myself at age 13. So just loved lifting, and then I've always played sports. I think I started wrestling in 7th grade, played football and started in 6th grade. Throughout the course of high school, had a couple injuries, so really only wrestled, like I said, those 2 years in high school, freshman year and junior year. Ended up having a perfect season in wrestling my junior year, 45-0, state championship, and then going into senior year for football, I was playing, I think week 4 or 5, I tore my ACL, and it was like a continuation of the partial tear of my ACL my 10th grade year when I didn't wrestle. And I had one offer at the time to play football at Nebraska Kearney, and then everyone that called me after that, they're like, "Yo, Corey, how's like season going? How many tackles you got?" I'm like, "Only played 4 games this year. I tore my ACL." I'm not gonna like lie to them. So, and I even had to like tell UNK after they offered me, I was like, "Yo, I tore my ACL," and they're like, "Yeah, no worries, you can still come and play." But when I went there, and I think when I was signing with them, the wrestling coaches contacted me, and they were like, "Hey, we'll toss you a little bit of extra cash. Come and wrestle as well." So I did football and wrestling. Cool. Football ended up, all the coaching staff got fired that first year, and then so there's basically no program. And all the new coaches that come in, they wouldn't know who I am. I'm just like, I was a redshirt that year for football, and the wrestling coaches were just like, "Yeah, just stick with wrestling, come wrestle full time and stuff, and we'll bump you up a little bit with the money."
What did you like more, football or wrestling?
Personally, I used to always tell myself I would never wrestle in college because I knew how hard wrestling was. Yeah, like if you actually put your effort to it, after it's all said and done, I like wrestling a lot. It's just a brutal sport. You don't have to rely on anyone else. It's not. I mean, it is a team sport, but it's just you versus the guy across from you at the end of the day. So I enjoyed wrestling. I like it. I got my cauliflower ears. I mean, I've had those since like high school.
You earned those cauliflower ears.
Yeah, I earned them. I remember my buddies in high school. They used to just hit themselves and trying to get it. Everyone wanted to get it, and I'm like, dude, you're dumb. You don't.
That shit's forever.
You have it forever, and it hurts really bad. You have to drain it and stuff. So, But in college, ended up having 2 more ACL tears. So I tore the left one in high school, and then the right one my sophomore year in college, and then again my junior year in college with the right one. Rehabbed them all together. And these are injuries that are, it's not the lack of rehab wasn't the cause of injury. It was just like force of impact. There's nothing you can do to prevent like someone running into your knee or it like just like planting the wrong way. I think I was wrestling heavyweight when I tore it in college too, and I was like, I think I was the 97. I was a 97 pounder, but we didn't have a heavyweight at the time, so I bumped up and wrestled heavyweight. That's how I tore it. During college, like I told you, I had the clothing company, Savage Ruthless. Shout out Savage Ruthless. And then that kind of led me into just like building a huge network, meeting a lot of people. Ended up meeting a guy and doing a collab with pre-workout, called it Savage Slushy on one of the flavors. And just like I was selling the clothing, started selling the pre-workout, dove a little bit deeper into the pre-workout, started bringing on a couple other supplements as well, just from the company that I was partnered with. It was Hardcore Platinum, and then Sweat Ethic is their other company within their umbrella. And eventually just more and more volume, more and more products like pre-workout, protein, aminos, electrolytes, fat burners, muscle builders, everything you can think of, brought on a full lineup. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just launch a store, an online storefront, instead of just like Venmo and typing in all their shipping stuff all the time and just corresponding. I made it automated pretty much. And then fast forward a little bit, started doing like some ebooks for like, obviously you can't just take pre-workout, can't take a fat burner and make the progress that you want. People were asking me, yo, Corey, what do I eat? Yo, Corey, how should I work out? So I wrote a bunch of workout plans, did the nutrition guide, stuff like that. And then obviously you can like self-teach, but at the end of the day, like some people need more one-on-one guidance. So that's when I launched my one-on-one coaching. So like consulting, scaled that up, went viral on social media for a couple years and had a big following, scaled my business upward a little bit, had like a virtual assistant, had a couple coaches, was doing a mastermind. Because everything was slipping through my fingers. Like I was having too many people requesting to work with me, and I couldn't handle that much. I was thinking about getting like an assistant coach and stuff, but then I had to go through the struggles of kind of downscaling a little bit. The viral videos and everything, the leads slowed down a little bit. So I mean, that's just process of any entrepreneur. I'm sure you guys have experienced upscaling, downscaling. So, but then in that time period, I launched my own pre-workout, Transcendence, with the Van Dorn Nutrition label. So we have 3 flavors. We only have 2 of them here.
That's what I'm drinking here.
Yeah, we got the strawberry and vanilla
delicious.
taffy. How do you like it?
It's really good. Yeah, I want to kind of get a little bit more into like the ingredients and stuff, and you can kind of share like the, why you picked what you picked to put in there. This is not what I took at Crunch Fitness that day. I took the Pump XL, which is a no stimulant, right?
Correct.
This has caffeine.
Yep, correct.
Which
correct.
I like.
Yeah, so the Transcendence, and what's cool about that is that it's like, because the other companies that I would sell on my online store, they're not my actual company. I'm pretty much like operating how like a local nutrition store would. They buy bulk from a company and they buy it in wholesale and then they sell it direct to consumer, except I just do that an online version. And then now it's like I'm actually creating my own line. So right now we just have a pre-workout. Eventually I think the next one I'll do will be a non-stim pre, so a pump. And then after that maybe like an electrolyte. Protein is like the least cost, like the most expensive, and you have to sell it for the cheapest. So that'll probably be a little bit down the road.
To make margins, yeah.
Yeah, as far as like the margins and everything. But yeah, the Transcendence it's a unique formula. The guys that own Hardcore Platinum and Sweat Ethic helped me formulate it, and they've been doing it for years. They've been in the industry for, I think Brent, he's been in the industry for like 18 years now, just like formulating supplements and stuff. So really smart guy. He's kind of like my mentor on that side of things. But we didn't put a ton of caffeine in there, and we do have some strong stimulants in there, but it's not all just caffeine. And then we have a lot of pump agents in there, and then a lot of nootropics. So you're really going to get that like euphoric feeling. You're going to feel really good. You're going to feel really dialed in. You're not going to feel like super stimmed out, and it's not going to have that high like jitteriness and then like a big crash afterwards, like a lot of pre-workouts do. So that's why it's kind of cool. I know a lot of people will look at the back of a supplement label and immediately look how many milligrams of caffeine is in it.
That's all they care about.
If it's not 400, I don't want it. If you look at ours, it says 225, and then it has another 100 of the HCl, which is going to yield 75%. So totally you get 300 milligrams caffeine. But there's also synephrine in there, and then like Aurora Durensis, and then you also got all the pump ingredients, and then the nootropics in there as well. So Cognati Q and the Alpha GPC, and then nitrosogen is in our original formula, which is a crazy pump agent, but it was such a good pump agent, we actually had to switch the formula around because it wasn't allowed to be paired with the Aurora Durensis because that's like a strong stimulant. So whenever your formula kind of has to get changed, that's how you know you did it right.
Yeah.
Just that's a thing in the industry. So
like we did this too damn good.
Yeah, we did it too good, so we had to switch it around. So
Cool.
But the new formula is still, I think the beta hits just as hits maybe even harder, and the nootropics might hit even harder. Even though we didn't swap around those ingredients, we just got rid of the nitrosogen and replaced it with betaine anhydrous, which is like beetroot powder, still good for like
it's a
blood
pump
flow.
product. Yeah,
Yep.
totally.
So
Yep.
But
A little
overall,
natural, too.
Yeah, and overall, it's really cool to have this as my own brand now because now I can get it into other stores. So I think right now, active stores, I think we have like 12 or 13 active accounts that we sell wholesale to. So it's just like another, now I'm doing business to business instead of direct to consumer, which is pretty cool. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm just trying to learn every pathway, you know what I mean?
Right,
so
man. That's a sick story, man. Like you were very similar to ours. I mean, athletes growing up for your whole life, and you're like, for me, it was like, how can I take what I love to do, help other people, but also like make it like profitable for myself and make a career out of it. Started as a trainer, that then kind of led me to like seek PT in Cairo, went Cairo. So it's all about like finding the blend. I think we talked about this before on a podcast of where, like, what do I love to do? What am I good at? And how can I serve the most people? And then where those three things meet is kind of your purpose, right? Or can be your purpose, or where you derive a ton of what God intended for you, right? But man, that's awesome. So right now you mostly, I mean, you got into like VO2 max and stuff. How do you train now? Do you mostly lift? Do you run, cardio? What's your approach?
Dude's jacked.
I know he's jacked. That's why I'm asking him how he trains.
I don't think he lifts. I don't think he lifts.
Never lifted a weight in my life.
never touched the weights.
Came out like this.
No, man, but it's switched up a decent amount. So I really got into, I'd say about 2020 era, and then 2021 is when I really like started and started actually training till true failure on like pretty much all exercises. It definitely takes a while. If you're training like hypertrophy, strength training, and you're like pushing weight all the time, you think you're like doing everything, and then like, but you're not actually training till failure. You can start getting those failure sets in there, but it takes a while to make every workout all your working sets till failure, especially when it's something like back squats or like any sort of leg workout, like going till failure on that. That's like so systemically like fatiguing.
That goes back to that like uncomfortable thing.
Yes,
where you're like, dude, like it sucks.
Like
training
most
to failure with like legs and squats.
Squats. I'm gonna touch on squats specifically. Any back squat, even if it's like a power V squat or something where it's plate loaded, whatever. I've trained with multiple people where they're like dying, they're struggling, and like they're about to rack it, and I'm like, no, not two more. And then they do two more, and I'm like, no, not two more. And then they do like six more after they were about to rack it, and I'm like, you're always training like this. That's why like you're not seeing progress. Like you're stopping when you think it's like, you're stopping when it's uncomfortable, yes, but you can go way further into that zone of like being uncomfortable. So you need to like push that. So that's where it kind of took a couple months to like really fully lock in on training till failure with everything. It's also going to be really hard on like your body. But that was about 2021 era that I started training like that. Real hypertrophy, short workouts, like high intensity training, not high intensity interval training. I'm still resting an adequate amount of time to where one set, my previous set doesn't hinder the following set. But within each and every set, I make sure that it's extremely intense. And that's the way I strength train. I was always like kind of anti-cardio just because I was just trying to like stay shredded. And my heart rate would get so high. I was doing sets of like, on back squat, sets of like 20 till failure. And I would literally like have the bar down and I'd have to unrack it. Like I'd go till absolute failure if I had no spot. It's kind of, and that would get your heart rate up like a ton. And I do a lot of hang cleans and stuff. But recently I've started running. So I trained and I ran a marathon in November. But my main goal going into that training was to, like we were talking about earlier, Matt, is to not lose muscle mass. I did an okay job at it. My legs lost a lot of muscle mass, but it wasn't because of the cardio and because of the like training and all that and the nutrition. It was mainly because I was like overtraining and I was having like injuries. So like my adductor popped, my hamstring was like popping, my hip was like bothering me. So I couldn't really train legs extremely hard while I was running and doing the marathon prep. And now I just did my first run in the past month on Tuesday. I only ran like 3 miles, but I still had a gas tank. Like I did like a run club thing. It was like me and this other kid ran like, I think it was like a 6 minute in like 15-second pace or whatever. And it was like simple. We were talking the whole time. So I definitely haven't lost my cardio, but I'm going to dive back into probably running a little bit more. I want to do the New York City Marathon is what I want to do. So I got to do a charity event.
That's a nice goal, yeah.
I got to do a charity event to
cool.
Otherwise it's like a drawing or you have to run a 2:53 marathon. I can't do that yet. Yeah, that's something that I kind of want to do. I think you just got to do a charity event, raise money, donate it. It's like $3,000 or something. And then you have a guaranteed entry.
You were saying that you had 3 ACL injuries. Is that right? Yeah. So one of the big things, obviously, you're coming up. You said your birthday's next month, 28.
Yeah.
But that mind-body awareness, because running obviously impacts that. Because I've like noticed that too. I'll run, I'll go, the longest I ran last year was about 14 miles. And so, but like mind body awareness, I had an MCL injury. I kept it really like I think my injury is not nearly what you had. And I'd never had an ACL injury, I had an MCL tower, but I'm like attentive to kind of the injuries of like where I'm at now. So how have you programmed that around, hey, I have an ACL injury. How am I building up obviously my quads and my hams, to cater to 3 injuries, pretty catastrophic injuries, in your collegiate years? As always, this episode is brought to you by Nutritious, convenient optimized superfood nutrition powered by nootropics, designed to elevate your physical and mental performance no matter what life throws at you. Nutritious has been proven to improve cognition, boost memory, and speed up mental and physical processing. Alfie, tell everyone where they can get it.
Yep, head on over to newtup.com to experience these benefits for yourself and live beyond limits today.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I tell a lot of people this all the time because I have a lot of like clients or just like people that communicate with me like online or messaging, whatever, like on what to do after an injury, or I work with them through an injury. Obviously, I'm not like a physical therapist or I'm not a doctor, but I've lived in physical therapy for all my injuries and stuff. And one thing that I did post surgeries and stuff like that to like stay healthy is like you do all the exercises in physical therapy like to strengthen all those like little muscles, stabilizing muscles, and obviously like the whole of the muscle as well during your PT, your 6 months or 9 months of recovery. But you need to continue to do that like almost basically forever, because as soon as you stop doing it, you're gonna atrophy again. You're gonna lose it all. Like, and especially for the people that don't do their physical therapy, which you'd be surprised how many people skip their physical therapy and then they end up like getting a re-injury. So that's pretty much what I've done. I've just made sure that I'm still doing the appropriate strengthening. I really was kind of lacking on the mobility and the flexibility and stuff like that. That's why that's why I'm glad I started running because that showed me like, oh yeah, I'm not invincible. I need to start doing this mobility and this flexibility and stuff. And then that's where I really dove into that even more. But other than that, ACLs are a little different, so it's not really an injury where you get hurt lifting if you're lifting appropriately. So obviously like good form. But ACL, it's always like if you're like cutting back and forth or like, and I never tore mine like with like cutting back and forth. There was always a contact injury, which is like
unavoidable.
If someone's slamming into your knee, or like you're getting like slammed on a wrestling mat and your leg is sticking out, doesn't matter how strong your leg is. Like you see the strongest running backs in the NFL, they get hit in the knee. Like sometimes it's just going to snap. So
we did a whole episode on that where we were like, if you're, going into sport and going into high impact stuff like football and wrestling, that there's a chance for injury, bro. Like you could be the most trained in the world. Guys are running into you full speed that weigh the same amount as it's just like,
dude, it happened in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That linebacker that was just coming in, he was like literally, he was just ready to. He popped an Achilles. Yeah. He like went back, popped an Achilles.
It's a dynamic game, bro. Like there's so many factors. You step and roll your ankle. Somebody steps on your foot. Like it's just a thing, right?
Yeah.
We play basketball, and so it's like I take that into account when I play ball. I mean, I like wear ankle wraps, but still, it's like you never know you're gonna step on someone's foot wrong, and while you're running full speed, and boom, there's your ankle, right?
100%. And one thing I used to remind people, and even back in high school too, the initial purpose for us, like, because they've been playing like high school, college football for years. They weren't always strength training. They started strength training for one reason and one reason only. It wasn't to be absolutely insanely dominant animals on the field. It was to prevent injury. That was the main reason for strength.
100%. Longevity.
Yes, literally is to prevent injury. So,
and that's what we talk about. That's part of why we like take care of ourselves, eat healthy foods that are anti-inflammatory, is that when an injury does happen, I'm going to recover faster.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm this, as Jay Campbell would say, this flaming human dumpster fire of freaking metabolic disorder, if I sprain my ankle, bro, I'm looking at a long recovery. My body does not have the building blocks to put, to heal that tissue. And then obviously we hack it here in the office with the soft wave and the peptides and all that stuff, which is then next level. But
those are pretty important. I keep going back to this because like it's a book I'm obviously reading right now. Outlive Peter Attia, but he calls it the Centurion Decathlon, right? So I'm a little bit older than you, so the way I look and approach things is just how can I be so metabolically flexible, right? And so we bring up basketball. Dude, I love playing basketball. Right now in March, too, I freaking itch. And so basketball's always been my sport. And now, like, I genuinely love it. I mean, basketball and golf. All day I could do it. But basketball's that impact sport. So then when I'm going in and I'm playing, like, on a Saturday, and I'll play with some guys, and I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, dude, you're 40 years old, and you're not warming up. You're not stretching. You're not doing anything. And you're metabolically inflexible, right? You're not in good, like some guys just aren't in great shape.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing that I've enjoyed about running, and really like putting running into like my exercise diet, is that from a cardiovascular standpoint, I warm up before I go onto the court, but I will run circles around 20-year-old kids like that aren't approaching it that same way.
You're like a gazelle, dude.
So, but like that cardiovascular component is like super important to me, because I want to make sure that, hey, that can potentially avoid injury. And the way I train like still like an athlete, where I'm cutting in various patterns, but I'm warming up. I'm doing high knees. I'm making sure my hammies are like loose before I get onto the court. And dude, I've seen like a major difference over the past 5 years on how I approach everything, whether it be golf in terms of my like overall flexibility, because that takes a lot of kinetic movement and in terms of like driving and the inertia. That's what I don't understand about like some older guys in golf. Like, they'll golf. Are you a golfer?
No, I'm not a golfer.
No, maybe you might pick it up. Anyways, but it's one of these things where like these guys will start enjoying golf, right? But like they won't do anything else to try to improve their game, which is like outside the game of golf. They're like, I'm going to play. It's like, dude, aren't you trying to drop your score? Like, aren't you trying to get a little bit better? Part of that is like, how can I have more upper body and lower body strength to create inertia to hit the ball a little bit further? Instead, it's just like this digression of like not taking the game seriously. And I'm like, dude, like I take that seriously outside of golf.
I think it's all about like what like your goals are. And I mean, dude, we experience this in what we do, and you've probably experienced this being a coach who's trying to take people to the next level of health and fitness. Is like, some people genuinely don't give a shit. Like, you ask them, you're like, are you cool being average? And they're like, yeah, I think kind of am right now. And you're like, damn, bro, like you clearly are not in our community. But like that changes when you develop disease over time and you start to realize, man, I'm so out of shape. Then they come back to like, hey, how do I get fit again? But I just was thinking about this as you were saying that, is like, I just shifted, because we're all about like changing it up too. So there's a concept like novelty stimulus will continue to like propel you forward or cause growth, right? If you run a mile every single day, your body will become more efficient at preserving calories in that mile. That's just what happens. So then you got to change it up. Maybe you start doing more like sprints, or doing like intervals, or you go from lifting heavy 1 month into lifting more like hypertrophy style with heavier or lighter loads, heavier reps, higher reps. Or like what I just shifted into, I went from more like a bodybuilding approach into I'm training again for like sport. And I was like, dude, I'm going to get back into playing lacrosse. Like, I'm feeling freaking good. I was like, and this is your fault, because you talk about the forever athlete all the time. And I'm like, dude, I am an athlete. Like, I need to get back into playing, bro. I miss it so much. And I guess I kind of like hung it up thinking like, oh, it's, you know, I shouldn't do that, or it's dangerous, or I might get hurt. But it's like, dude, you can get hurt doing so many things. Like, you could be, I don't even know, we'll get into, that's a whole other conversation, but you can't live your life in fear.
That's
of
all
like
the process
injury,
of comfort.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if I'm properly trained and my body's able to perform at a high level, I can play for sure. And that's the forever athlete right there.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
No doubt. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit more, because you're in the business side of things too, as far as like growing and then obviously scaling your company. How old's your company now?
I think we officially launched the website for Van Dorn Nutrition April of 2021, so almost
it's pretty
almost
recent.
3 years, yeah.
Okay.
But I was like selling, I think the first time I tried first time I like bought, I just bought 6 tubs of pre-workout at like maybe half price or like wholesale, whatever it was, and then like tried to sell them to like my network, and then I did, and then I bought like 12 and then 20. I think that was the end of 2019, going into 2020, that I've been doing supplements type deal. So
cool. So one thing, and this always goes back, because like whether you're an entrepreneur or you work, it's all about then becomes time. Like, how do you fit time in? Right, I got to do this, I got to do that, but then there's like time for you. And one of the things that's like a non-negotiable is like, dude, there's always time to like make sure that I'm maintaining that like a healthy lifestyle, working out, being confident. How do you find the time? How do you find the time between being an entrepreneur and then like obviously trying to grow and scale a business, coach other people to do better things, and then time for yourself?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. And for me, it's honestly like the easiest thing in the world, because I am the billboard for my company. It's like, if I want to help people build muscle, shred fat, then I just show that I can build muscle, shred fat. So as long as I'm staying lean, as long as I'm sharpening my brain and learning more about nutrition, learning more about training, and just like always improving, and like how I can improve my knowledge, I'm going to apply it to myself first. And then I'm going to like obviously read the literature, read the research, and then I apply it to my clients and see what works, see what doesn't. Not like I'm using them as guinea pigs, because I'm the guinea pig on a lot of things. And I'm not trying like crazy stuff, but if you're like trying to get a lot of people in your door at like, you have like some sort of like restaurant or something that's like really hard to maintain the outside of it, and like you want it to look good on the outside so people come inside. If it looks like crap, no one's going to come inside. Same with me. I'm the billboard, I'm the face of the company. I need to make sure that it looks good, that it's inviting, it's welcoming. I'm my own marketing tool, if that kind of makes sense. And I enjoy it. There's nothing that's literally probably the best part of my day is like going to the gym, and I enjoy meal prepping. I enjoy staying dialed in, and yeah, dude, it's honestly, it's the simplest thing. If I was doing something else, like if my business was like something else, maybe, and like I didn't have like a burning desire to be athletic and like shred fat, build muscle and stuff like that. I mean, you guys enjoy working out, right?
Love it.
Yeah. So for us, it's like easy to ask someone else that who's like not in the fitness space. They would probably have some sort of other answer. I just love it.
Yeah. I think we have a guy in our optimizers program right now he's absolutely crushing it. Shout out to Rick, he's the man. He's not in that space, right? He's in the insurance world. He packed on some pounds, and it could be that like everyone's rock bottom is different, right? But he's like, dude, I'm not accepting this standard anymore. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to set a new standard for myself. So his one thing that he's noticed though is that his employees, when he goes in and they see him like setting that standard, they're like, this guy's really taking this intentionally. Like he's taking this seriously, that like he's leaving sometimes, work for 30 minutes to an hour to come back, that he has a clearer mindset. He's able to be more present with them. And he's like, dude, if I wasn't doing this, man, like I missed out on all these years of like not doing this. But he's like, now it's like I have to, because of how they perceive me now. And so it's like this confidence factor as you bring on employees in the company. That's one thing that we do within our company, is that I tell them every day, I was like, your health is way more important than any work that we're doing. Like if you're not 100%, like I would prefer to have you like leave for an hour, even take a nap. Like I tell them, take nap breaks. Like I love the 20-minute like burst where you can come back and you can just like, you feel like you're at an optimal state to come, because you're going to be way more efficient. So take a nap, drink lots of water. If you need to go for a walk, even a workout, do it. I think it's like, I would rather have you at a higher capacity than like just trying to push through something. And that's why that's why I'm just such a believer. Dude, I'll break away for 45 minutes to an hour. We did that yesterday. I usually don't do midday. I was same as you. Morning. Which we can dive into that here in a minute, of like that chronotype, but very much of a morning guy, right? I want to knock this thing out. I want to get my like max blood flow really early in the morning. It's not for everyone. And I think that goes back to that chronotype piece of like understanding yourself. Am I night? Am I morning? I am a believer in that you probably don't want to accelerate your heart rate right before you're trying to go to bed. Try to maintain that like 2 to 3 hours where you're not accelerating. But that chronotype's a big piece. So you're probably that chronotype fits that morning, where some people just like that early morning blood flow.
Yeah, recently I used to lift at nighttime or like midday, or even like after I'd get 2 meals in before I'd lift. But recently I've been noticing my sleep is better, and I like to have the workout completed. I don't want to like get into some deep work or like working with clients all day or like creating some sort of content and then like look at the clock and I'm heading to the post office and then it's like already 5-6 p.m. and I still haven't lifted yet. I just don't like, I'm almost like, like the commercial, like you're not you when you're hungry for Snickers. That's like, and I've had that feeling since like I was like 18, probably younger than 18. Like you're not you if you haven't worked out yet that day.
Bro, same. I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been, and then a lot of times like I'll usually do a breakfast. Usually it's been smaller lately, just like oats, protein, like kale, spinach, and a shake. And I used to do that just with eggs, but now I've been doing just a shake and then just wait like 30, 40 minutes and then I can go get a lift. But sometimes I'll carb load at nighttime and like have a bunch of excess carbs before I go to bed, and then I wake up and then like I'm fully loaded, have all the glycogen stores are full, have all the fuel that I need, and then I'd lift it like as soon as I wake up. That's what I did this morning. I lifted, I think I started my lift at like maybe 5.
You feel hungrier when you do that? Do you feel hungrier when you've had a lot of carbs at night? I noticed that for myself.
Hungrier what, the next day?
In the morning.
No, not really. I don't know. I just can tell, and I can tell in my stomach. It's not even, I don't even know. It's like a hunger or an appetite, but it's like I literally just like feel like less, my body and my muscles feel less full, and like my stomach actually feels empty. And then I'm like, okay, I need to eat food before I train. It's like I can almost like tell, especially once, I don't really know. Once you've been doing it and you pay attention to it, I track every little thing that I put in my body. Do you guys track your calories and macros?
Track my protein.
I track protein.
Okay,
yeah.
So I track literally everything. And carbs, like protein, I'm like hitting almost all the time. I don't really worry about that. I like to see how many carbs I've had, and then I like to see, not necessarily the fat, but like if I'm like carbed up, like I'm like, okay, I'm about to hit like a 2-hour bike ride, or I can run like 11 miles today because I got all these extra carbs in me. Because it's like, it's really important if you're doing like long training, especially if you have like not many reserves. I'm pretty lean right now, so, and you guys are lean too, so it's the same concept. Someone who's like more overweight, they don't have to necessarily like rely on carbs for their fuel because they can tap into that fat source. But a lot of times, if you're tapping in your fat source and you're already pretty lean, you're also going to be tapping in and going through gluconeogenesis, which is where the protein that you ate breaks down into glycogen, into glucose. It's just a less efficient form of energy that your body's going to use. You're not just burning purely body fat or whatever. And then when you're not having that protein be used to rebuild your muscles because it's going through gluconeogenesis to be carbs, then you're no longer getting enough protein to rebuild and keep your muscle mass. And then that's why people start to lose. All right, guys, if you enjoyed that part 1, we have a part 2 coming for you, so stay tuned.